Will all the council members in the hallway please come to the well? All of the council members in the hallway, please come to the well so we can get started. Will all the council members come into the well so that we can get started? Okay, all right, cool. All right, we ready? We got a quorum? Okay. Jim Donovan, Bill Burgess, and Yvonne Griffin.
Is that what you told me?
Yeah, Jim Donovan, Bill Burgess, and Yvonne Griffin. Okay, got it. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Griffin.
Here.
Bishop. Conwell. Gray. Hairston. Harsh. House Jones. Jones. Casey. Kelly. Moorer. McCormack. Polensik. Santana. Slife. Spencer. Starr. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. Will everyone rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll make the following statement. This meeting of Cleveland City Council is a lawful meeting. Under Section 605.04 of the Codified Ordinances, no person with purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Members of the public are invited to speak only under the rules set by this council. Disruptions, including but not limited to speaking out of turn and making loud noises and loud utterances, are in violation of the rules and interfere with the due conduct of this lawful meeting. Such disruptions may constitute a misdemeanor and a violation of Section 605.04. Anyone who disrupts this lawful meeting in violation of the codified ordinances commits misdemeanors and is subject to prosecution. The following is the first and only warning. If this meeting is disrupted, I will gavel a halt to the proceedings and direct the assembled officers to escort any person participating in the disruption out of the chamber. Once persons participating in the disruption are outside of the chambers, the officers will close the doors and the disruptors will be handled as directed by the Director of Public Safety. The council proceedings will not begin again until those that participated in the disruption have left the chamber and the chamber doors are closed. Disruptors will not be allowed back in the chamber after the meeting resumes. Again, this is the first and only warning. Madam Clerk, please dispense with the journal.
By Councilmember Santana, that the reading of the minutes of the last meeting be dispensed with the journal approved, seconded by Councilmember Polensik.
Thank you so much. We will now move to public commenters. I do want to make sure that the public commenters are aware that each public commenter has 3 minutes. You can look at the light. When you see the yellow light, that means to wrap it up. When you see the red light, that means that your comments are over and the next person is up. The first person, I'm asking council to turn around and acknowledge the speakers. And once again, if the speakers can make sure they acknowledge their time. The first person that we have is Daryl Houston. He is from Bedford Heights. He's here to talk about city issues. He's not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Mr. Houston, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody in the room for being here and giving me this opportunity to speak about some of the things that I've noticed. The first thing I want to start out and say, it's been very interesting for the last 6 months to come down here and engage with you guys. I've learned a lot. I appreciate, I want to acknowledge Mark Griffin here for protecting the taxpayers' dollars and deciding to sue the city of, sue the Cleveland Browns. I believe that's a great choice. The reason I believe that's a great choice is because the citizens of Cleveland have paid their taxes, and that's an investment to anybody that lives in the inner city of Cleveland. Their tax dollars have built that stadium. I had the privilege of going there Sunday, and what I saw in the stadium, I was very disgusted by it. There was physical rust everywhere in the building. There were chipping paint, and it just didn't look like it was being taken care of at all. So I'm a little concerned about how do we go about keeping the maintenance up on the stadium. And then secondly, I would like to talk about the water and light issue. The water department seems to be unfair to the citizens of Cleveland when it comes to our taxpayer dollars. I had a property that I overpaid about 60 days ago. And it took me about 30 days to get them to understand that I was the person who paid for these things. And we got that resolved, but as a result now I have to wait 60 days to almost receive $300, okay, back. And I don't feel that that's fair at all for a taxpayer or a citizen of Cleveland to have to wait that long to get their money returned when they made an overpayment to a bill. And lastly, I would like to talk about Cleveland Public Power, right, the light company. I would agree that yes, you should get a raise, right? But what I would like to go on record and state is like, if you haven't had a raise, I believe somebody said in 40 years or 15 years, and I look around the city, I don't see any work or any development going on with Cleveland Public Power. And Cleveland Public Power is owned by the city of Cleveland. And I don't think that they've done a great job with the residents with their taxpayer dollars. We don't see them in the summer doing any tree trimming. We have a lot of dilapidated poles right now within the city limits that's owned by Cleveland Public Power that they're not even taking care of at this moment, okay? So my thoughts would be on that is we have commissions for these things. And I've talked to you before, Mr. Blaine. I've asked you to reconsider some of the people on the commissions because it don't seem like they invested. I've also asked you to do the same thing with the safety department, right? Because I don't seem like they're doing enough to protect the taxpayers' dollars. And I would just like to see the taxpayers' dollars protected at all costs, okay? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Houston.
Thank you.
Next, we have Brenda Bickerstaff. Brenda Bickerstaff is from Ward 9. Ms. Bickerstaff is going to talk about the homeless. She's not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone. Ms. Bickerstaff, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. When I was here before, I brought it up about the homeless, and it's starting to be a lot. I'm seeing more homeless people than I've saw through my years. I mentioned to you, some of them sometimes have been on my lot. And at the end of the day, I did speak to some of the people who does the demolitions on some of these houses in the city. And some of these, you know, they tear them down, they tear down the houses. It's cost like $15,000, $20,000 what they were telling me. However, you could take that same money and renovate a house and put a lot of those homeless people in the house and get social workers who are licensed social workers to help a lot of these homeless people that have mental health problems. Some of these homeless people that are our clients, and they arrest them for being homeless. And now the Supreme Court, with they dumb ass, has passed a law where the police can arrest them. And I did say that, dumb ass, because they're dumb. Okay, why would you do that? Why would you do something to try to help these people in this country? I have no problem with helping immigrants, but we need to help our country. We need to help our city. We have a lot of issues in this city alone with crime. We have a lot of issues with people being incarcerated. We have a dilapidated jail. So we have big problems here. And I don't have a problem in helping people. Well, what about helping our people first? What about America helping America? And this is where I'm at with this. And it's ridiculous. You see homeless people everywhere now. And my issue is, Why is there so many homeless people? And a lot of these homeless people are educated people. So you can't tell me that it's their fault that they're homeless. It's a fault of our leadership in this community. And that's all I have to say. And yes, I say it, dumbass. And if the Supreme Court don't like what I say, then they need to come and see me.
Right, thank you. Next, we have Roger Carney. Roger Carney is from Lyndhurst. The topic that he would like to discuss is thanks. He is not representing anyone, and he is not being paid by anyone. Mr. Carney.
Mr. Council President, members of City Council, Mayor Bibb and his administration, I wanted to come and say thank you. At the end of July, I retired from Community Housing Solutions after 25 years, devoting myself to sharing God's love in my unique space. Mayor Bibb and City Council, thank you for the proclamations. Councilmembers House, Jones, and Polensek, thank you for the privilege of your time, making the time to present those at my send-off celebration. But I have much more to say thank you about. Councilwoman Moore, thank you. You're a lifesaver. The senior who was having furnace problems, her furnace was giving off carbon monoxide and not much heat. One or the other would have killed her if not for your action. Thanks for calling me. Councilwoman Santana, thank you. You changed lives. Thank you for introducing me to Marilyn. You are loved. Not an afterthought. Councilman Harrison, remember Miss Marks? That one will be talked about around City Hall for years to come, mostly on the 3rd floor. Together we found a way. You're awesome, and thanks for including me. Councilman Conwell, I loved walking Glenville with you. You and Yvonne are incredible. You had a profound impact on a Cleveland hero, the late, great Peter Love. Thank you for letting me watch. Mr. Council President, thank you. Keith Smith is a career highlight for me. Your phone call to our beloved Marcia Fudge, she offered kindness I hadn't expected. The news story on TV, a kind soul inspired by God, she said, brought us a $10,000 check to fill a gap I couldn't get past. Thanks for letting me be a part of your story. We couldn't have done it without Director McNamara, who changed my life, embracing me as a part of her team. Mary, thank you for your heart to help seniors age in place, including me. Councilman Polensek, how did you possibly put together that dilapidated home on East 149th Street? That was wonderful. Thank you. Councilwoman Gray, there was a porch destroyed by a car in a police chase. Together we crafted a way when there was no way. That story was beautiful. Thank you for the chance to be a witness. Councilman Bishop, remember the widow on East 140th Street who needed a boiler and a roof long before she met you? Together we did both, just in time. Big assist to Director Hernandez. Your team is amazing. They always treated me like a folk hero. Tough on me, but always fair and kind. Always by the book. Thank you. Councilman McCormick, you do God's work. You always encouraged me with those words for years. Remember Miss Ripka? Thank you. Councilman Casey, Santa Claus, and Barb. Enough said. Let's keep going. Councilwoman Spencer, we went to a home, a lady who had lost a husband and grown child to COVID. Now she's caring for an orphan grandchild, thinking no one cared about her. She said the impactful home repairs we did paled in comparison next to the love she felt from your visit. You don't realize what a kind word from you does. Thank you. Councilman Harsh, I remember our favorite Golden Gloves boxer who used to attach a Fresh Plain Dealer article about him from the 1950s to every application he sent us? Thank you. Councilman Kelly, you came in late to the table, but your heart is gold. You never had a layup for me, but together we made a way, and thank you.
Mr. Carney?
I just want you to know I mention your name every day to God. I pray for you and the cabinet and the City Hall employees. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. Next, we have Lowe. Lowe is from Ward 7. Lowe is here to talk about the campaign for public health for Cleveland residents. Lowe is not representing anyone, and Lowe is not being paid by anyone. Lowe, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm only short, not low. My name is Lou. Good evening, everybody. I'm glad somebody just mentioned about our homeless issues here. However, homeless people or anybody else in the city, housing is not our only problems. Yes, it does help us to lose population, which is not a good thing. So if we want the remaining people to stay here, live happily, or at least with good progress, and we want to attract other people in, how about let the city to help our residents and the restaurant with a little bit thing, which will not really cost money. Here is a national campaign called Cut the Salt, Keep the Flavor. We know in our area, majority of the residents have the same groups of health issues. Lots of time, salt, sodium is one of the issues. However, throughout talking to people with this campaign, I do find out this campaign will help most of our residents who needs to have a less sodium intake to benefit from this legislation, which is simple. We just want the city to help the restaurants put the sodium warning or the content for the menu items. Think about that. In the recent 3 decades, who can have a stable routine? Going back to home to make your lunch, going back home to make your dinner. It's hard. Since recession and COVID-19, people are struggling with jobs, school, take care of the young ones in the family and elderly in the families. Lots of times, you do not even have time to eat at the right time yourself when you actually feel hungry. So you have to go for takeout, you have to go for to-go, you have to sit somewhere dining in, even for business. So if restaurant menus will tell you how much sodium, or it's too much sodium based on Heart Association standard, at least you know you have a choice to make a decision. You want something with a high sodium, or you want to have something with a lower sodium content. Now, this will also benefit people who have a health issue the opposite way. We do have people in the community, their body have a different way to utilize sodium. So their body cannot keep the sodium. They actually need to eat high sodium food. Majority of us, we probably need to cut it off. This is the reason why this will be very helpful to have all of us to eat delicious food we want and also have some healthy intake for our bodies. So we will not let the food, we will not let the stress to make our health compromised.
Time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Sean Weiler. Sean Weiler may need language assistance, and Sean Weiler is from Brecksville. He is here to talk about using genuine just law to keep the Cleveland Browns from moving. He is not representing anyone, and he is not being paid by anyone. Sean, you have the floor.
I addressed the Cleveland City Council through the President. Good day, Councilman. It is legally possible to prevent the Cleveland Browns from moving from the city. It is a judicial error, which is a result of what is, I allege, best termed, quote, educational fraud, unquote, perpetuated in law schools, which gives the team this power. Law schools in this country are accredited by the American Bar Association. This is a private organization. I'll offer a few concrete examples of this error. This is the cell phone that I use to make phone calls. I allege that it has malware on it. The symptom is that it is not possible for it to be able to normally communicate by cable with any computer that I have attempted to connect it to. I took this phone to 2 AT&T stores. I was given a tech support number in one store, and the other said that it was not a problem they could fix. It was not a service that they offered. Thus, I was refused service by AT&T. What enabled this unjust behavior? Freedom of contract did. It is freedom of contract which enables parking lots to extort crime under color of law those who need a place to park by raising the fee by 10 times when there is a major event in the city. I have a reference page to a page in a book on legal history which expounds the way that business exchanges were required by law to work in the 18th century. This was just. Personally, I have been effectively blacklisted and become, quote, unemployable, unquote, due to the sins of detraction, slander, or both by a previous employer. How many attorneys have helped me solve this problem so far? 0. Freedom of contract is the means by which very serious evils are evilly allowed to go unpunished. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiler. That concludes public comment. Madam Clerk, please share communications.
From, from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, file number 1191-2024, regarding a new license application at 1940 East 6th Street, Ward 3. File number 1192-2024, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 18025-29 Euclid Avenue, Ward 10.
Thank you. We'll move to condolence resolutions.
Resolutions of condolence by Councilmember Gray for Gwendolyn S. Walker, by Councilmember Griffin for Joyce Blanton, by Councilmember Hairston for Lawatha F. Braxton, by Councilmember Conwell for Teresa Sutton.
Thank you. We'll move to any other condolences. I would like to hold out a number for Jim Donovan, sports reporter for Channel 3, voice of the Cleveland Browns.
So noted.
I'd also like to hold out a number for Yvonne Griffin, longtime city worker.
So noted.
And I believe that the dean is going to hold out a number for our very near and dear friend, the doc. So, Dean, I'll give you the honors of doing that.
Madam Clerk, honorable colleagues, I would ask to hold on a number for our dear friend William Bill Burgess.
So noted.
Thank you. And I'd ask if all of council can be added to Jimmy Donovan and Bill Burgess. And if anyone would like to join with Yvonne Griffin, especially Mr. Hairston, let me know. Any other condolences? Any other condolences? Will we all please rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Any congratulatory resolutions?
Resolutions of congratulations by Councilmember Starr for Loretta Brown, by Councilmember Griffin for Grace Leon, by Councilmember Jones for Joyce Elaine Hood, by Councilmember Jones for Amir El Haj and Khalid A. Samad, by Councilmember Griffin for Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force, by Councilmember Griffin for Cleveland Police NICE Unit. Resolution of recognition by Councilmember Griffin for Tracy Jones.
Thank you. Are there any presentations? I do not see any presentations or not aware of any presentations. Therefore, Madam Clerk, please proceed to first reading emergency ordinances referred for administrative review and committee review.
Ordinance 1164-2024 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request to amend Section 1 of Ordinance 432-2023 relating to one or more requirement contracts of materials, equipment, supplies, and services needed to maintain, repair, or replace components of electrical transmission and distribution systems, including labor, for the Division of Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities. Ordinance 1165-2024 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Ohio Machinery, DBA Ohio CAT, for replacement parts for Caterpillar heavy-duty construction, equipment, and labor and materials to repair and maintain the proprietary equipment for the divisions of Water, Pollution Control, and Water, Department of Public Utilities for a term of 2 years. Ordinance 1166-2024 by Councilmembers McCormack, Bishop, and Hairston by departmental request, authorizing Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to 1865 West 22nd Street LLC to encroach into the public right-of-way of West 22nd Street by installing, using, and maintaining one or more electric power lines and conduits. Ordinance 1167-2024 by Councilmembers Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of City Planning to exercise the first option to renew a contract with Santec Consulting Services to provide professional services for on-call planning services. Ordinance 1169, 2024, by Council Members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Greater Cleveland Media Development Corporation or its designee to assist with the general operating expenses of the organization. Ordinance 1170, 2024, by Council Members Polensek, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development and the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to enter into a purchase agreement with Kasem Properties or its designee, and authorizing the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to purchase property located at 15900 Lakeshore Boulevard, which will be, which will be placed into the city's land reutilization program for future redevelopment for the Department of Economic Development. Ordinance 1171, 2024, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of fencing, gates, and guardrails, and labor and materials for the repair and maintenance of gates, fencing, guardrails, and other related items, including installation if necessary for the various divisions of the Department of Port Control for a period of 2 years with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Ordinance 1172, 2024, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control to enter into various written standard and requirement contracts for the purchase, lease, or lease with option to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items necessary to equip the vehicles authorized for their intended purposes, including vehicle rehabilitation, training, and inspections as needed for the Department of Port Control for a period of 1 year with a 1-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Ordinance 1173, 2024, by Council Members McCormack, Bishop, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control, Public Works, and/or Capital Projects as appropriate to enter into one or more submerged land leases with the State of Ohio and future consent to sublease with various tenants for the submerged land from West 3rd Street to approximately East 49th Street for a term up to 99 years with 2 50-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control, and to replace, modify, amend, extend, or otherwise adjust existing identified submerged land leases and subleases. Ordinance 1174, 2024, by Council Members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with 1030 East 62nd Street LLC or its designee to assist with the financing of the 1030 East 62nd redevelopment project to be located at 1030 East 62nd Street, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. Ordinance 1175, 2024, by Council Members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, to transfer the operations of the storefront renovation program and the commercial revitalization program from the Department of Community Development to the Department of Economic Development, and authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into contracts under the commercial revitalization program and rebate agreements with storefront renovation program applicants, and to employ one or more professional consultants to implement the programs. Ordinance 1188, 2024, by Council Members Polensek and Griffin by departmental request, to establish the Office of Prevention, Intervention, and Opportunity, to enact new Section 123.10 of the codified ordinances relating to the new office, and to amend Section 121.01 relating to offices considered departments. Ordinance 1189, 2024, by Council Members Santana and Griffin by departmental request, to enter into a contract with the newly formed nonprofit Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Workforce Development Board to enable them to implement the city's Built Environment Initiative by administering sub-agreements with various entities to provide services under the initiative.
Is that it, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you. First reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 1155, 2024, by Councilmember McCormack, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Buddy Walk on September 13, 2025, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 1156, 2024, by Councilmembers McCormack, Starr, and House Jones, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Hofbrauhaus Run on August 3, 2025, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 1157, 2024, by Councilmember McCormack, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Cleveland St. Patrick's Day Run on March 15, 2025, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 1158, 2024, by Councilmember McCormack, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the towpath 1010 on June 13, 2025, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 1157, 2024, by Councilmember Griffin, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the annual Transplant House 5K event on June 8, 2025, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 1168, 2024, by Councilmembers Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Jonad Properties or its designee to provide economic development assistance to partially finance the Alient Health Expansion Project located at 17027 Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Ordinance 1190, 2024, by Councilmembers McCormack and Kelly, authorizing the issuance of a mobile permit to Marcellus Smith of Culture Clash Sweet Treats to engage in mobile vending in Wards 3 and 11. Ordinance 1193, 2024, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, appropriating certain funds from the general fund into a neighborhood equity fund for use by Cleveland City Council for various projects properly benefiting the public.
Thank you. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Santana, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Polensek.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Thank you. First reading emergency resolutions referred for administrative review and committee review.
Resolution 1176, 2024, by Councilmembers Polensek, Bishop, and Hairston by departmental request, declaring the intent to vacate a portion of East 166th Street.
Thank you. First reading emergency resolutions to be adopted.
Resolution 1160, 2024, by Councilmember McCormack, objecting to the transfer of ownership of a D1, D2, D3, D3A liquor permit to 4310-12 Clark Avenue, first floor and basement. Resolution 1161, 2024, by Councilmember Conwell, withdrawing objection to a new C1 liquor permit at 10109 St. Clair Avenue and repealing Resolution 951, 2024, objecting to said permit. Resolution 1162, 2024, by Councilmember Kelly, withdrawing objection to a new C1 liquor permit at 10820 Lorraine Avenue and repealing Resolution 1042, 2023, objecting to said permit. Resolution 1163, 2024, by Councilmember Santana, withdrawing objection to a new C1 liquor permit at 3315 Clark Avenue and repealing Resolution 621, 2024, objecting to said permit.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
by Councilmember Santana that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Palencic.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Palencic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Thank you. Call the roll on adoption.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Palencic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Thank you. Second reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 549, 2024, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more contracts with AT&T Corp. For professional services necessary to add new hardware, network, and telecommunications services for the various divisions of the Department of Public Utilities for a period of 3 years. Ordinance 550, 2024, as amended by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of renewing, repairing, and replacing various water mains in 2025 and 2026, and authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Ordinance 626, 2024, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Motorola Solutions for continued support and maintenance of the Motorola 800 megahertz Project 25 radio system, including but not limited to the purchase or rental of replacement or upgraded radio system equipment for the Office of Radio Communications Administration, oversight and regulation of the city's radio communications system under the Department of Public Utilities for a period not to exceed 5 years. Ordinance 628, 2024, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Hatch Company for laboratory supplies and chemicals needed for the proprietary equipment manufactured by the Hatch Company for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities for a term of 2 years. Ordinance 716, 2024, by Councilmembers Casey, Palencic, and Griffin by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of repairing and improving the filters at Nottingham Water Treatment Plant, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts to construct the improvement, and authorizing the Director to employ one or more professional consultants necessary for the improvement. Ordinance 717, 2024, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to employ one or more professional consultants to analyze and recommend safety improvements to process hazards and to provide services to address potential process hazards encountered during maintenance activities for a period or periods not to exceed a total of 2 years, and for additional monitoring, maintenance, and support for a period or periods not to exceed a total of 4 years. Ordinance 812, 2024, as amended by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, to supplement the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio by enacting new section 129.296 relating to acceptance of gifts, sponsorships, or awards for the Department of Public Utilities. Ordinance 1143, 2024, by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request, to amend sections 241.05 and 241.35 of the codified ordinances, excuse me, as amended, relating to food shop licenses, fees, and categories.
Thank you. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Santana, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Palencic.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Palencic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Palencic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Thank you. We will now move to introductions. Are there any introductions? Any introductions? Seeing no introductions, announcements, I will make one announcement, and tomorrow at, I know it's in Councilman Polensic's ward, but the men from Ginn Academy, I think everybody should have gotten the call. The men of Ginn Academy, many of them will be voting for the first time. I believe that there are other high schools that are going to vote for the first time, so please try to reach out to your local school to make sure we encourage these young folks to vote. And then I believe that Mr. Slife is going to be working with a group of children from Hawken tomorrow, where he'll represent council at 10 o'clock to talk about the civic engagement process with that. Councilman Michael Polensik or Councilman Kevin Conwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to announce Safety Committee on Wednesday, the 30th at 10 o'clock. We've got 4 pieces of legislation up, but we also have the operational review for Office of Prevention, Intervention, Opportunities, Community CRB, Police Accountability Team, Office of Professional Standards, Civilian Police Review Board, Community Police Commission. So I'd ask all members of the committee to please be in attendance because they're critical pieces of legislation, and then operational review of these other critical areas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Kevin Conwell, announcements.
Announcement. Don't forget about this Wednesday, Disability Awareness Luncheon in your ward. It's at Fair Hill. Disability Awareness Luncheon is at 12200 Fair Hill Road, Cleveland, Ohio, at 11 a.m. in your ward. We believe in the ability and not the disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Conwell. Councilwoman Stephanie House Jones.
Good evening. Just a reminder that the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls will be having their monthly meeting this upcoming Wednesday, October 30th at 9 a.m. in room 514.
Thank you. Councilwoman Deborah Gray.
Thank you, Councilman. I just want to announce that on November 2nd, Saturday, I'm giving a tour to Studio Zero. That's on 40th and Payne. This young man named Marquise Williams, he has his own studio. And what we're trying to do is, because we're dealing with so much of arts and culture, you know, to invite the kids into a different world, I'm setting up a tour November 2nd from 11 p.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday at Studio Zero at 1670 East 40th Street. And what this young man does is he wants us to make sure that we continue to show and provide kids throughout our community, you know, with options and resources that they need to succeed in whatever industry, you know, they select. So if you have anyone that's interested in this film, in this film making studio, please have them contact Hamilton Rec, Zama Rec, and Woodland Rec, because they're going to provide rides for the kids, you know, to come out to this film studio, you know, this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, seeing no other announcements, we'll move to miscellaneous. Do we have miscellaneous? Councilwoman Jenny Spencer, miscellaneous.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for giving me a few minutes tonight. You know, when we get that moment on TV to say hello to our moms, thanks to TV 20, tonight is my moment to say hello to my mom, Flo Worth, and thank you to my mom. Since very early this summer, my mom has been everywhere, from Jobs and Family Services to medical offices to register people to vote through Northeast Ohio voter advocates. And since the October 7th voter registration deadline, she's pivoted to voter outreach, and I am proud to say that she is a huge fan of our council colleagues Stephanie House-Jones and Councilman Kevin Conwell having now canvassed in both of your wards. And I'd like to also shout out Councilman Conwell and County Councilwoman Yvonne Conwell for having an election headquarters in their wards. You know, Council President, we are on the eve of an election unlike any I would have expected to see in our lifetimes. On the one hand, we could elect the first woman president of the United States. On the other hand, we see the constant erosion of the truth and the undermining of the rule of law. People say Ohio isn't a swing state, but in reality, we have 3 incredibly important statewide races to swing. First, Ohio could decide the balance of the U.S. Senate. Second, we'll have the opportunity to continue to protect reproductive freedom through 3 key Ohio Supreme Court races. Third, we'll decide the future of democracy in our state through issue 1. This ballot is pretty complex this year. It's pretty long. If any of my constituents are watching and want to reach out to me to talk through any of the issues, I would welcome those conversations. With 7 days to go until this election, I think that each of us will want to dig deeper and go farther to turn out voters than we thought was possible. That work will look a little different for each of us and will be a reflection of the communities we serve. But one thing I can say for sure is that none of us will be wanting to sit on the sidelines of this historical moment. So thank you again to my mom, Flo Worth, and to all of you who are doing election work. Godspeed to us all. Just briefly, thank you. On a separate, well-deserved for everyone working on this. On a separate note, for almost 4 years, I have used X, formerly Twitter, as a platform and means by which to share information with my constituents. Last week, I decided to discontinue my use of X. Elon Musk's behavior in this election is abhorrent and undermines the rule of law. If anyone watching has not already had a chance to research how Musk is blatantly using disinformation and his personal wealth to influence the outcome of this election, please take a look. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other miscellaneous? Okay, seeing no miscellaneous, Madam Clerk, please excuse the absences.
By Councilmember Santana, that the absence of Council Members Bishop and Hairston are hereby excused. Seconded by Councilmember Palencic.
Thank you. Council is adjourned to the next regular meeting. We are meeting next Monday. Even though it's the day before Election Day, we will be meeting next Monday. This committee of council is adjourned to the next regular meeting on November the 4th, 2024.